Hello and welcome to this lecture. So in this lecture we are going to learn about pagination. So if you don't know what exactly pagination is nothing but while browsing some websites you might have seen some numbers over here at the bottom of the web page which says page number 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And this is a common scenario while you are using some sort of an e-commerce website. Let's say if you search for a product, multiple products appear on a web page on a single page, and if you keep on scrolling down, the list of the product ends and it actually gives you an option to switch to page number 2 where you have other set of products. So that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or the page numbers or previous or next which we have at the bottom of the web page is nothing but pagination, which actually allows to split up the products on our page from a single page to multiple pages. So we are going to learn exactly that. So right now, as you can see, we only have two movies in here, which is my movie and second movie. And let's say for some reason you only want to display 3 movies on a single page. So right now, if we actually go to admin and if we keep on adding these movies in here, so let's say I type in third movie, let's give some random rating, let's add a few more, let's say fourth movie, let's say fifth movie. So once we have these bunch of movies, and now if we go to movies, as you can see, we have all these movies in here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 movies. So let's say for some reason you only want to display 4 movies in here instead of actually displaying 5. So how exactly can we do that? We can do that by using pagination. So let's go ahead and learn how to use pagination in your Django site. So the very first thing which we do is that let's go ahead and fix this template a little bit. So let's add a break tag in here so that the movies are actually listed on top of each other. Okay, so once we have that, let's now start with pagination. So in order to use pagination, you actually need to modify this particular view right here, because this view is something which defines how your page is going to fetch the data. So in case of pagination, what we want to do is that we first want to get the page number. So this is page number 1, and for page number 1 what we want to do is that instead of fetching all of these 5 movies over here, we only want to fetch 4 of them. So we want a way to actually go ahead and fetch the first 4 movies for the first page, and for the second page we want to go ahead and fetch the next 4 movies, so on and so forth. So pagination allows us to do exactly that. So let's go back here in the view, and the very first thing which you need to do in order to use pagination is that you need to import pagination. So you type in from django.co.paginator import paginator. So once we have the paginator, we go ahead and create the instance of the paginator right over here. So I can go ahead, go right over here, and I can type in paginator and make sure that you check the case sensitivity over here. This should be small p, not the capital P. And now we go ahead and create the instance of the paginator we have just imported, and we tell this paginator that we actually want to split up the movie objects which we have right over here. So I can pass in movie objects over here, and then I need to define the number of items I actually want on a single page. So we want 4 objects or 4 items on a single page, so I pass in 4 over here. So now once we have defined that to the paginator, now we need to go ahead and we need to get the current page number. So how exactly can you go ahead and get the current page number? We can go ahead and get that by using the request, which is this request right here. So this request actually contains a lot of information, and one such piece of information here is nothing but the page number of the current page which we are on. So in order to get access, I type in page equals request dot get. So get is actually a method, you all know, and this is actually going to get the data, and we type in get.get, and in here we actually want the page number, hence I'm going to type in page in single quotes. So now this is going to give us access to the page number. And now once we get the page number, and once we have defined the paginator, and once we have passed in the number of objects we want, we now actually go ahead and get the items on that particular page. So in order to do that, we again go ahead and type in movie objects, or you can create a new variable over here as well, but I'm going to just go ahead and use movie objects equals, that's going to be paginator, which is nothing but this paginator instance which we have just created, and we type in dot get underscore page, and then we pass it the page number over here. So I can type in page over here, and this is actually going to fetch the objects which are present on the current page and not all of the objects right over here. And now this is actually going to fetch the objects, and it's going to pass it in over here in the movie objects. And if you go ahead and name this something else, you just need to make sure that you pass in that as a context over here and not movie objects. So now once we go ahead and do that, we are pretty much done modifying the view right here. And now if we actually hop back over here, and if we hit refresh, as you can see, we only have 4 movies over here, and we don't actually have access to the 5th movie because right now we are on page number 1. So how exactly can you go ahead and jump on to page number 2 in this case? So in order to do that, you just go over here and you type in question mark page equals 2 and hit enter, and as you can see, now you have access to the 2nd page. Now let's see what happens if I do page equals 3. As you can see, it still says 5th movie because we don't really have page number 3. And now if I want to switch back to page number 1, I can type in page equals 1 and I will get the page number 1. So that's all fine and good. We can actually access all the movies by visiting different pages, but how is the user supposed to go ahead and enter this URL right here? So we don't actually want the user to enter the URL here, but we want to provide some sort of an option or buttons over here which allow the user to navigate through the entire website. So we actually need to go ahead and modify this particular template right here. So how exactly can we go ahead and do that? So in order to do that, we need to go to the template and make a few changes in here. We already have this list here and we don't want to do anything with that. But the thing which we want to do is that we want to go ahead, add the navigation over here. So the way in which we are going to have this navigation is that we are going to have the first page, which is the link to the first page, and we'll call it as page 1. Then we will have the link to the previous page. So we will say something like previous, so that previous is going to actually give access to the previous page. So let's go ahead and define that over here. So the very first thing which we need to check is that we need to check if movie objects actually has a previous object. So we type in if movie underscore objects dot has underscore previous. So has previous is actually a method which is going to tell us if this actually has previous items. And we also make sure to end the if over here. So I'll type in end if over here, and in here what we want to do is that if it has the previous item, we actually want to get the page number of that particular item. So in here I'll define a link. So I'll type in a href equals, and for now let's keep this thing as empty, and we'll say something like previous. And once we have that, now we go ahead and define another if statement over here. So now just as we have checked if the object has some previous objects, we also need to go ahead and make sure that if a particular object also has item next to it. So we type in another if statement over here, and we type in if movie objects dot, and just as we have used has previous, we use has underscore next over here. So once we have that, we again go ahead and type in end if over here, and we again go ahead and define the href tag, which is the link for this particular page. So we type in this as next. And now once we have the previous and next, now we'll go ahead and also add the links to the first and the last page as well. So I can go ahead and type in a href, and in here I can type in something like first, and in here I can go ahead and type in ahref, and this is going to be last. Okay, so once I have these things, we are pretty much good to go. Now let's fill up the places for links here. So for the first page, the link is going to be nothing but page equals 1, because that's what you actually want to visit the first page. Now how exactly are you going to get the page number of the previous page? So you can do that by using the movie objects which we have right here. So we type in page equals, and instead of defining a hard-coded number in here, I can just go ahead and type in movie underscore objects dot, and I can type in previous underscore page underscore number. So this is actually going to give me access to the previous page number of movies object, and in the same way we are actually going to go ahead and use the same thing for the next as well. So I can just copy this particular thing, paste it for the next as well, and in here, instead of having previous page number, I'll just go ahead and use the next page number. So I can type in next over here. And for the last page, in order to get access to the last page, obviously we don't know what the last page is going to be. So instead we type in page movies object, and inside the movies object we can get access to the last page. And to get access to the last page, we just need to know the number of pages we have. So here I can simply type in num underscore pages. Now this is going to give me access to the number of pages which the site has, and that number of pages is nothing but the number of our last page. So once we go ahead and do that, we are pretty much good to go. Now we have access to the first page, we have access to the previous page, we have access to the next page and the last page as well. Now the only thing which we need to define is that we need to define which page are we currently on. And in order to do that, I'll simply type in page here, and we want to say page 1 of 2 or page 5 of 6 or page 10 of 100. So here I'll type in page. So in order to get access to the current page, I again type in movie objects dot number. So it's going to give me access to the current page, and we'll type in off, and here I'll type in movie objects dot number of pages to get access to the number of pages which we actually have on our web app. So once we go ahead and do that, we are pretty much good to go. Now let's see if this thing actually works on our home page. So if I go ahead and hit refresh, as you can see it says page 1 of, and we don't have any number right here. Okay, so the problem here is that in order to access the number of pages, we need to type in movie objects dot paginator dot number of pages. So the same thing applies here as well. So we want movie objects dot paginator dot number of pages. So once we go ahead, fix that, and now if I click refresh, as you can see it says page 1 of 2. So when I click next, it says page 2 of 2. So now I can go to first, I can go to last, I can also go to next, and I can also go to previous. So now as you can see, we can navigate through the number of web pages which we actually have on our website. So this might look a little bit boring over here, but we can actually go ahead and style that up using Bootstrap. So we are going to do that in the upcoming lecture, but for now you just need to remember how the paginator actually works. So the paginator's working in the view part is quite simple. You just import paginator, then you simply go ahead and create an instance of the paginator and give it the object list which we have, and then you simply pass in the number of items which you want to display on the web page on a single page. So in this case we wanted 4. You can modify this as well, and then the first thing which you need to do is that you need to get access to the page. So we type in page equals request.get page to get access to the current page. And once we have that access to the single page, we simply pass that thing to the paginator and we get the movie objects for that particular page. And then we simply pass that thing as the context. Now the most important thing which we need to remember here is how to actually get access to the different page numbers over here. So these things might actually look big and confusing, but these things are nothing but the page number. So this thing actually gives us access to the previous page. So let's say if you're on page number 2, this is going to say 1. If you're on page number 3, this is going to say 2. So in order to get access to the previous page, you simply use the same movies object, and to get access to the actual page number, you use the previous page number method. Now we do the same thing for the next page number as well. So we type in movie objects dot next page number, and in order to get access to the number of pages, we simply type in movie objects, that is nothing but the objects dot paginator dot the number of pages. So that's it for this lecture, and I hope you guys were able to understand how paginator works. So in the upcoming lecture, we are going to learn something about sitemap. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.